Something in you is tired of waking up like you are already late to your own life. Before your feet touch the floor, your mind is moving. It is checking, measuring, anticipating, grabbing onto the day before the day has even had the chance to greet you gently. And that kind of morning does something to the soul. It does not always look dramatic. It can look responsible, efficient, even successful. But inside, it feels like hunger. A quiet kind of hunger. The kind that no schedule, no notification, no perfect routine can really satisfy. You can love your life and still feel unfed by the speed of it. You can be grateful and still feel stretched thin. You can be doing your best and still wake up with a heart that feels a little abandoned by your own attention. That is the ache this moment is speaking to. Not because you are broken, not because you are failing, but because your inner world may have gone too long without being met before it is managed. Too long without gentleness. Too long without a pause that does not ask anything from you. And here is the truth that changes everything once it lands in the body, not just the mind. The peace you are craving in the morning does not usually arrive when you force your way into it. It begins when you stop treating yourself like a machine that must instantly perform. It begins when you create even a breath of stillness, not as a luxury, not as a reward, as nourishment. This is the paradox that surprises so many people. Stillness can look like nothing is happening. But under the surface, it is where your nervous system unclenches. It is where your attention stops scattering. It is where your spirit can hear itself again. You do not feed your soul by pushing it harder. You feed it by letting it come back into the room. And when that happens, life starts to feel different, not because every problem vanishes, not because the world suddenly becomes easy, but because you are no longer meeting the day from the inside of depletion. You are meeting it from presence, from softness, from enoughness. For many people, that is when small miracles start to feel possible again. A calmer conversation, a clearer decision, a sudden sense of timing, a feeling of being carried instead of chased. Not magic in the performative sense, more like life opening where force used to live. So stay with me here. Because if your mornings have felt crowded, flat, rushed, or emotionally noisy, this is not about becoming a different person. This is about remembering what your inner life has been asking for all along. A little quiet, a little honesty, a little room to arrive before the world starts asking you to produce. And the beautiful part is that this does not require a perfect routine, a candle collection, or the personality of someone who journals in flawless handwriting at sunrise. Some people do that, and good for them. Some of us are just trying not to spiritually dissociate while brushing our teeth. What matters is simpler than that. A still morning does not demand performance. It invites return. Let me say something clearly. The reason mornings can feel so charged is not only because there is a lot to do. It is because the mind has learned to equate immediate motion with safety. If you have spent years being responsible, anticipating other people's needs, managing stress, or trying to stay ahead of disappointment, your system may have built a silent rule that says, move fast or fall behind. Think early or lose control. Stay alert or something will go wrong. That rule can become so familiar you stop noticing it. You wake up and the body is already braced. The chest is subtly tight. The jaw has opinions. The thoughts are sprinting before your spirit has even put on its shoes. And because this is common, many people assume it is normal in the deepest sense. But common and nourishing are not the same thing. Familiar and loving are not the same thing. A rushed beginning can become so practiced that it feels automatic, yet your whole being still pays the price for it. Psychologically, this makes sense. The brain is designed to scan for what matters, what threatens, what needs attention. When life has been demanding, the mind gets very good at triage. It starts the day by sorting, predicting, preparing. Behavioral research on stress and attention has long shown that stress narrows perception and pulls focus toward urgency. That can be useful in a true emergency. It is much less kind when it becomes your default way of being alive. Because then, even ordinary mornings feel like little emergencies. A message to answer, a task to remember, a conversation to brace for, a feeling to outrun. And beneath all of that, something tender gets ignored. The quieter intelligence in you, the part that knows how to notice, how to settle, how to sense what is actually needed before the performance begins. Spiritually, this matters too. Many wisdom traditions speak in different language, but they point toward a similar truth. The deeper self is not usually reached through panic. Insight does not bloom well under inner violence. Presence cannot be bullied into appearing. Whether you call it prayer, awareness, attunement, reflection, or simple silence, there is a reason so many paths honor stillness. It is not because silence is decorative, it is because silence reveals. When you are constantly moving internally, you can miss your own life while you are living it. You can miss the small no in your body. You can miss the quiet, yes. You can miss the difference between pressure and guidance. You can miss the moment your heart is asking not for more discipline, but for one unguarded breath. And here is what most people miss. Stillness is not hard because it is unnatural. It is hard because it interrupts a pattern that once helped you survive, a pattern of monitoring, fixing, preempting, a pattern that may have earned praise, a pattern that may have made you competent, dependable, admired. But competence is not the same as connection. Dependability is not the same as inner peace. You can be deeply capable and still profoundly undernourished. That is why forcing yourself into a peaceful morning often backfires. You turn calm into another assignment, another performance, another subtle chance to get it wrong. Even your healing becomes tense. Even your self-care starts wearing a little necktie. No wonder your soul gets suspicious. It does not need another task. It needs a place to land. So instead of asking, how do I master my mornings? A kinder question is this: how do I meet myself before I manage my life? That question changes the whole emotional temperature. It removes the whip. It softens the demand. It makes room for a different kind of strength. The strength to pause before the day tells you who you have to be. And that is where this simple practice comes in. I call it the gentle morning return. 3 small movements. Pause, soften, receive. Not because you need a system to prove your worth, but because naming the path can help the mind trust it enough to try. Pause is the moment you interrupt the automatic rush. It is the sacred little gap between waking and performing. It may last 10 seconds. It may last 2 minutes. The length matters less than the honesty of it. You stop before reaching for the world. You let yourself arrive. Soften is what happens next. This is where you notice how hard you already are before the day has begun. The forehead, the throat, the stomach, the thoughts, and instead of shaming the tension, you loosen around it. You do not command peace. You offer gentleness. You let your body know it does not have to earn safety by clenching. Receive is the quiet shift from control into willingness, not passivity, not resignation, willingness. You let the morning touch you before you try to conquer it. You receive one breath, one moment of silence, one honest feeling, one tiny sense that life is not only something you manage, it is also something that meets you. Pause, soften, receive. Simple enough to remember, kind enough to practice, deep enough to change the way a day begins. Now I know what you might be thinking. This sounds lovely until real life enters the chat. The alarm goes off. The dog needs something. The children need something. Your phone is glowing like it personally believes you are the CEO of everybody's emotional stability. I understand. This is exactly why the practice must be small, not theatrical, not precious, small enough to live inside an ordinary life. So let us make it real. The first experiment is with pause. When you wake up tomorrow, do not make your first move the usual one, before the screen, before the to-do list, before the mental roll call of everything that could go wrong. Stay still for one breath longer than is comfortable, just one. Notice the instinct to reach. Notice how quickly the mind wants to leave the body and run ahead. Then quietly say to yourself, I am here first. That sentence matters. Not because it is magic, because it interrupts abandonment. It tells your inner life, I will not leave you behind while I go perform the day. You might place a hand on your chest or your stomach. You might simply keep your eyes closed for 10 extra seconds. You might sit on the edge of the bed and let your feet touch the floor, like you are actually arriving in your own life, not being dropped into it by force. See what changes when the first relationship you tend each morning is the one with yourself. Then there is soften. This is not about becoming instantly serene. Please do not turn this into a competition with some imaginary woman on the internet who wakes up looking emotionally moisturized. This is about reducing 1 degree of inner hardness. That is all, 1 degree. As you wash your face, notice whether you are rushing your own body. As you make tea or coffee, notice whether your shoulders are lifted like they are trying to solve the economy. As you think about the day, notice whether every task feels like a verdict on your adequacy. And when you notice it, soften one thing. Drop the shoulders. Unclench the jaw. Exhale longer than you inhale once or twice. Speak to yourself in a tone you would not be embarrassed to use on someone you love. You do not need to become a fountain of light before breakfast. You are just creating less internal violence. You are removing the unnecessary edge. You are showing your system that effort and harshness are not the same thing. Sometimes softening is physical. Sometimes it is emotional. Sometimes it sounds like this: I do not need to scare myself into showing up today. That line can change a lot. Because many people were taught, directly or indirectly, that pressure is what makes them effective, that self-criticism keeps them sharp, that gentleness will make them lazy, soft, unprepared. But for many people, the opposite becomes possible. When the inner war quiets down, clarity comes closer. Energy stops leaking into resistance. You can actually hear what matters instead of reacting to every mental siren. And then comes receive. This is the most unfamiliar part for people who are used to gripping life by the throat before 8 a.m. To receive means you let something in before you decide what the day means. It could be silence, it could be sunlight through the window, it could be the warmth of a mug in your hands. It could be one sentence written on a piece of paper beside your bed. Something like, I do not have to begin in fear, or peace is allowed here, or even, darling, not everything needs your immediate panic. Yes, that one can stay. Receiving can also mean listening for what you actually need, not the dramatic answer, the real one. Maybe you need a slower first 10 minutes. Maybe you need music instead of news. Maybe you need to stop reading messages while your nervous system is still barefoot. Maybe you need to ask, what would make this morning feel less like a chase? Do one small thing in response. Open the curtain before opening the phone. Drink water before drinking urgency. Stand by a window for 30 seconds. Step outside for 1 minute. Write down the one feeling you woke up with instead of pretending you are already over it. These are not grand gestures. That is their power. They slip past resistance. They teach the body through experience, not theory, that mornings can begin without immediate self-abandonment. And if you miss a day, or 5 days, or you wake up already in a spin, that does not mean you failed the practice. It means you are human. Return anyway. The gentle morning return is not ruined by inconsistency because it is built on mercy, not perfection. You are not building a streak. You are building trust. Stay with me here because this matters more than it seems. Many people think the point of a still morning is to become more productive later, and yes, sometimes calm helps you focus, sometimes slowness creates cleaner attention, but that is not the deepest gift. The deepest gift is relational. You stop beginning the day in a way that tells your soul you are on your own until the emergencies are handled. You begin telling the truth instead. I want to be with myself while I live this life. That changes the texture of everything. You answer differently. You choose differently. You hurry less where hurrying costs too much. You become less available to false urgency and more available to what is real. And no, this does not mean every morning becomes luminous and wise. Some mornings will still feel messy. Some mornings you will pause and immediately remember something awkward you said in 2017. The mind is committed to its art. Let it perform. You do not have to hire it as director. This is where the humor helps. Not to dismiss the struggle, to loosen your grip on it. A warm little smile in the middle of tension can remind the system that it is safe enough to soften. So when your brain starts presenting a full disaster documentary before sunrise, you might gently say, "Thank you for your submission, but the committee is not meeting yet." It sounds silly, and that is partly why it works. It interrupts the trance of seriousness. It lets a little air into the room. And once there is air, there is choice. There is another reason this matters, and it is more intimate than time management. The way you begin the morning often becomes the way you interpret yourself for the rest of the day. If your first inner message is rush, fix it, get it together, do not fall behind, then even neutral moments can start to feel charged. A delayed reply feels personal. A simple mistake feels like proof. A full schedule feels like accusation. But when the morning begins with even one moment of contact, the whole emotional lens can soften. You are more likely to respond instead of brace, more likely to notice than assume, more likely to feel your own center before the world tries to rent space in it. That is why stillness is not empty. It is calibrating. It is relational. It tells the body, we are not under attack right now. It tells the heart, I am listening. It tells the mind, you do not have to drag me through every possible future before breakfast. And that message is powerful because the body believes what it experiences more than what it is told. You can repeat calming words all day, but one lived moment of gentleness can reach deeper than an hour of mental convincing. So part of feeding your soul is not only creating quiet, it is creating evidence. Evidence that your life can contain a pace that does not injure you. Evidence that your first moments do not have to be a negotiation with dread. Evidence that your worth is not measured by how quickly you become useful. Many people never received that evidence consistently. They learned to wake up into responsibility, into noise, into roles, into expectation. They learned to scan the emotional weather in the room before they checked the weather outside. They learned to get ahead of needs before needs could become conflict. They learned to prepare before they learned to arrive. So when they try to be still, it can feel strangely vulnerable. Not because stillness is wrong, because stillness removes the old armor for a moment, and the body is not always sure that is safe. If that is true for you, be gentle with the resistance. Do not make an enemy out of the part of you that wants to reach for the phone, fill the silence, or mentally sprint into the day. That part is not stupid. It is protective. It is trying to make sure you do not get blindsided by life. Thank it if you want to. Then let it know you are trying something kinder now. You might quietly say, I know you are trying to help. We can begin softer. That kind of inner language matters. It changes the atmosphere inside you. Instead of creating a war between the part that wants peace and the part that fears it, you create cooperation. You let your system know no part of you is being dragged into healing by force. That is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. Real change rarely happens through inner humiliation. It happens through repeated experiences of safety, honesty, and compassionate direction. This is also why tiny rituals can become powerful without becoming rigid. Lighting a candle is not magic by itself. Neither is opening a curtain, placing a hand over your heart, or standing in silence near the sink while the kettle warms. The power is not in the object. The power is in what the act communicates. It says, "This moment belongs to presence. This body is not only a vehicle for tasks. This morning has a center. I have a center." Try another experiment with this. Choose one thing you do every morning anyway. Not a new task, something already there. Maybe it is washing your face. Maybe it is pouring coffee. Maybe it is opening the front door for a breath of air. Let that ordinary action become a bell of return. Every time you do it, say inwardly, "Come back." That is all. Come back to the body. Come back to the room. Come back to this exact morning instead of the 10 imaginary ones the mind is inventing. Over time, this repetition teaches your system that stillness does not need a perfect setting. It can happen right in the middle of a real life. And here is something else worth noticing. A still morning can reveal what you have been using noise to avoid. Sometimes what rush protects you from is not only responsibility, it is feeling, the sadness that has been waiting, the disappointment you have pushed aside, the loneliness that gets louder when the world is quiet. If that happens, do not panic. This does not mean stillness is failing. It means truth has entered the room. You do not need to solve every feeling in the morning. You do not need to turn a quiet moment into an emotional excavation site. You only need to tell the truth about what is there. I feel heavy today. I feel guarded. I feel tender. I feel annoyed. And I do not even know why. Naming a feeling with kindness is already a form of nourishment. It prevents the day from being built on denial. It lets your inner life exist without being treated like an inconvenience. So stillness is not about becoming blank. It is about becoming available, available to peace, yes, available to reality too, available to what hurts, what helps, what is true, what is yours, what is not. That availability is sacred because it pulls you out of autopilot. It lets you live on purpose instead of only in reaction. And when you practice this over time, something subtle but important begins to change in your relationships too. You become less likely to offer the world a version of you that has already been depleted by the first half hour of the day. You carry less hidden resentment. You are less brittle, less easily hijacked by urgency, more able to notice when something does not deserve immediate access to your peace, more able to bring steadiness into a room instead of borrowing its chaos. You do not need a dramatic life change to feel that relief. Sometimes you only need a different beginning. Let me say something tender and direct now. You are allowed to stop treating every morning like a test of your worth. You are allowed to stop acting as if peace must be earned through immediate efficiency. You are allowed to stop frightening yourself into participation. You are allowed to begin the day as a human being, not a performance. For some people, this is the permission they have been waiting for without knowing it, because they learned very early that being good meant being ready, being useful, being ahead, being low maintenance, being composed. And so they built a life around preemptive tension, around trying to become acceptable before anything could accuse them of being enough. But sweetheart, a soul cannot thrive in constant audition. It cannot bloom while being watched by an inner critic with a clipboard. It cannot feel fed by a life that only knows how to extract from it. So hear this slowly. You do not need to win the morning. You do not need to conquer your humanity before coffee. You do not need to become impressive before you become present. You do not need to launch yourself into the day to deserve belonging inside it. You are already allowed to be here, already allowed to breathe before you prove, already allowed to move slowly enough to hear yourself, already allowed to let stillness hold you for a moment without apologizing for it. This is not laziness. This is not giving up. This is not weakness dressed in nice language. This is wisdom returning to the body. It is the understanding that force is not always strength, that harshness is not always discipline, that speed is not always alignment. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is begin without violence. And when you begin that way, something beautiful opens. You become less likely to chase what drains you just because it is familiar. You become less seduced by chaos disguised as importance. You become more able to feel when something is off before it becomes unbearable. You start trusting the information in calm, not only the information in panic. That is a profound shift. Because panic is loud, calm is subtle. Panic makes itself sound urgent. Calm often sounds like a simple truth you almost overlooked. No. Yes. Not now. This matters. Rest first. Begin here. Stillness is what helps you hear those truths again. Not because it inserts them into you, because it clears enough noise for what is already wise within you to become audible. And here is the deeper layer. When you stop forcing the morning, you are not only changing your mood, you are changing your relationship with life itself. You are stepping out of the assumption that everything meaningful must be hunted, controlled, and clenched into existence. You begin discovering another way: cooperation, receptivity, participation. This is where people sometimes use the word miracles, not as a guarantee, not as a performance of spirituality, but as a way of describing the quiet, beautiful openings that happen when you are no longer strangling the day with fear. The right words arrive, the timing shifts. A burden feels lighter. An answer comes when the mind stops shouting over it. A conversation softens because you entered it softer. A path becomes visible because you were finally still enough to notice it. What becomes possible is not always dramatic. Often it is deeply ordinary. A little more clarity, a little more steadiness, a little less self-betrayal. A little more capacity to recognize what is good for you. Those are not small things. Those are life-shaping things. So tomorrow morning, or the next one, do not ask yourself to transform your whole existence before breakfast. Just begin differently. Pause, soften, receive. One breath, one unclenched muscle, one moment of letting life meet you before you rush out to meet every demand. That is enough for a beginning. And beginnings matter, because the way you enter a moment teaches your body what to expect from being alive. If you enter with alarm, the day often feels like something to survive. If you enter with even a little gentleness, the day has another chance to become something you can actually inhabit. So come back to this whenever you need it. When the noise returns, when the pace steals your center, when you forget and begin performing again. Come back without shame. Come back without drama. Come back as many times as it takes. A nourished soul is not built through perfection. It is built through return, through small, honest moments of choosing presence over panic, through tiny acts of self-respect that say, my inner life matters too, through quiet mornings that teach you again and again that peace is not always found at the end of effort. Sometimes it is found at the beginning, when you finally stop abandoning yourself and let stillness sit beside you like an old, trustworthy friend. And maybe that is the line to carry with you. Miracles do not always enter through force. Sometimes they enter through the door that opens when you become still enough to receive them. If this settled somewhere inside you, keep it close. Let it meet you in the morning before the world does. Let it remind you that your first job each day is not performance, it is presence. And from that presence, so much more becomes possible today. And sometimes that one gentle beginning is miracle enough for now